All right, I'm told we have 96 prospective jurors who are ready to come in. And I'm also told there are 200 people physically present today. So I'm going to give each side the lists, and he does. Come and get them. Now, let the record reflect that counsel has been given copies. And the clerk says they're all in the courtroom. All prospective jurors, please stand. Jurors are in the courtroom now, all standing. Swear or affirm, blah. You may be seated, they sit. Judge Mercan, the Democrat judge, says, hello, everybody. I'll be your judge presiding over this matter. This is the Bragg prosecution against Trump. Says the people are served by whatever verdict you render here. Now, the allegations, ladies and gentlemen, are in substance that Donald Trump falsified business records with others to influence the 2016 election. That with Michael Cohen, pursuant to a legal retainer, paid Stormy Daniels, characterized it as a legal retainer, and Mr. Trump denies these charges. The judge says, and I'm going to explain some of the basic law here. And then I'm going to ask you, ladies and gentlemen, if anyone here feels like they cannot serve. Then the clerk will call 18 prospective jurors at random, and then you will be answering questions individually. And the lawyers will ask to exclude one or more of you until we're done. Now, I know you don't want to reach a verdict based on implicit bias or race or religion or even political affiliation. You may not make up your mind until the end of the case. And Trump is not required to prove that he is not guilty. And we are going to be in court every weekday, but we are not going to be convening on Wednesdays. And we're also not going to be here on April 29th on a Monday. The court is not going to convene on days that jurors cannot attend due to religious observations or the Passover holiday. Now, the attorneys have given me lists of possible witnesses at the trial. And here are some of the names. We have Steve Bannon, Donald Trump, Kellyanne Conway, Hope Hicks, Jared Kushner, Karen McDougal, Bradley Smith, Trump Jr., Melania, Eric Trump, Ivanka Trump, and more. Now, this is the list of people. Not all of these people will testify, but they might. And so now I ask you, ladies and gentlemen, with this background, please raise your hand in the front row if you feel you cannot serve, if you cannot be fair and impartial. Now's the time to let us know. Half that room goes up. Judge says, okay, A211, A25, A349, A313, and A251. Anybody in the second row, please raise your hand. We do it again. The judge says, now, if there is any other reason that you cannot serve, first question was about being fair and impartial. If there's any other reason you feel like you cannot serve, like your kid or your grandma or whatever, please raise your hand. They raise their hand. The judge boots them. And apparently there was a lot. Okay, a lot of people have gone. Like about half. Like of the 96, whatever there were, like 50 are gone. So now we're going to call the numbers of 18 jurors and ask you to sit in the jury box. And so read the questionnaire when you're in there and answer the questions aloud. We'll do it by juror ID. So we get them. Seat number 1, juror B197. And finally, the judge calls them all. The clerk calls them all. Seat 6, you're B113. She's like, pull them out of a bingo. Seat 7, B14. Yes, got it. Okay, they go up. So they get through them all. They get through 18. All right. Now we're going to go one by one. We've got them in the jury panel. They're not going to be afraid of Trump. First juror gets asked a question. Seat number 1, you have the form. Can you please read and answer the questions? She's like, oh, great. I'm first here. She says, sure, happy to do it. Okay, what's your educational background and children? She said, MBA. Background, I have an MBA. Any children? No. What I read from the first juror, I read in terms of jury news, New York Times, Wall Street Journal, Google, Up First, The Daily. And do you have any strong opinions or firmly held beliefs about Trump? She says no. Seat number 2, who's this person? Tell us more about you. I live in Midtown. So apparently this is where you live, maybe. MBA. Bunch of questions. We read through the questions. You know what they are. So we'll just hit some of the highlights. This person, seat number 2. Tell us about yourself. Well, I live in Midtown. I'm MFA, married. I do marketing. No kids, but I do have a dog. I like hiking. I like cooking and, playing with my dog. I listen or read the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, CNN. I don't listen to podcasts. I've got no relatives who are ever victims of a crime. Now, is there any bias, any reason that would prevent you from being fair and impartial? And she says no. 32. Any strong opinions about Trump? No. And they move on. Our next juror is up. Seat number 3. This person says, what do you listen to? Al Jazeera and movie podcasts. Do you have any strong opinions about Donald Trump? Do you have any strong or firmly held opinions that could interfere with your ability to be fair and impartial? This guy says, yes, I do. It's a woman. Yes, I do. Did you say yes? Says the judge. You said yes to that? Yes. Okay. Any objection to excusing her? No. Prosecutor says, yes, I do. They love this woman. Okay. Judge is like, can we get rid of her? Prosecutor says, yeah, no problem. She's gone. Prosecutor says, no. We're keeping keeping her. Don't know why. Sidebar ensues. So they go up to the podium or they put the headphones on. Judge says, no, okay. She's gone. She's going to be excused. She's out of here. Let's put B330 in seat number 3. Call someone else up. You're up here. All right, who's up next? The new seat 3 says, where are you from? Tell us about yourself. She says, well, Upper West Side. I'm from Pennsylvania originally. I work for New York City government employee in marketing. Is that right? Previously, New York City Department of Transportation. Our government has marketers? They need to do a better job. Pretty terrible. I have a master's, no children. I like cooking, art, parks, and shows. I listen to the New York Times and CNN. I don't listen to podcasts. Do you have any strong held beliefs about Trump? No. Any reason you can't be fair and impartial? No. Okay, thank you. Thank you for that. So juror number 3 looks good. Now, before we continue with seat number 4, we're going to take a break and we're back. Seat number 4, tell us about you. It says, well, I have a child who's getting married out of town on June 8th. Judge says, well, I think we should be done by then, but I can't stay for sure. So you have to decide whether you want to roll the dice. Where is the wedding? She says Seattle. Boom, she's out of here. Excused. So it sounds like those were all women. Now we have the new seat 4, so they boot her out. Bring in another guy. This guy's a male. Waiter. Tell us about yourself. Well, I work as a waiter. I've gotten some college in, work for the New York Times, watch some Fox News. And also watches some MSNBC. Oh, we have a so-called independent or whatever they call themselves. I don't know. Any bias here that would make you capable of doing this job? No. Any prejudice against Trump? No. Okay, great. Next seat. Seat number 5. Another male. Tell us about you, sir. Well, I live in Sultan Place. I work in the law. Oh, great. Married. My wife is pregnant with our first child. Congratulations. And I cook in my spare time. I listen and read the New York Times, CNN, Wall Street Journal, and the New York Post. He says in seat 5, Shakespeare and Company says, I fight pediatric cancer. Is this the same seat? That was seat 4. Then we move on to seat 5. He continues, Shakespeare and Company. I listen to MSNBC, New York Times, Google, X. My wife practices law. Oh, really? What kind of law? Says the judge. Antitrust, works on wages. How about 31? Any strong opinions about this? He says, I feel no one is above the law, whether a sitting president or a janitor. All right. And no one is above the law is a nice little catchphrase that the left has commandeered. Any bias? No. Okay. Here's another male in the next seat. Fox News, says this guy. New York Post. They're going to want to get rid of him. Don't listen to podcasts. I have a friend who is an assistant DA. My girlfriend is in finance for a bank, but honestly, I don't even know what she does. My dad was a victim of trespass in New Hampshire years ago, but it wouldn't impact me. 34, any bias against Trump? No. Any reason you can't be impartial? No. Okay. Seat number 8, moving on. It's a woman. Says, I work at FanDuel. I work in social media. Where do you get your news? TikTok, the Wall Street Journal. I'm not married. My dad, brothers, and boyfriend, they all work in finance. It's New York. I think I got emails a few years ago from Trump, but I unsubscribed to them. Any bias against him? No. Any reason you can't be impartial? No. All right. Judge says, let's move on. How about seat 9? Another woman in seat 9. Where are you from, ma'am? I live in the Upper East Side. I'm an oncology nurse. I've got a master's in nursing. I'm not married. Living with my fiance, though, who works in finance. What do you like to do? I take my dog to the park, listen and watch the New York Times, CNN, Google. I have a Facebook account, not biased against Trump, and not any reason why I can't be fair or impartial. And the judge says, okay, great. We're in seat 9, and says, we'll take a break for the day, says the judge, and the jury leaves. All rise. All right. Jury gets up. They start scooting out of there. So when they leave the courtroom, Trump's attorney, Todd, comes back out. He says, Your Honor, President Trump is very busy, running for president, and he's scheduling campaign events on Wednesday. And judge said, I already moved one to Tuesday. For a proceeding that involves the jury, your client needs to be here. That said, if we're running behind, I may have to start scheduling the trial on Wednesdays. So no more campaign events for him either. So maybe we will have trial. So you can't go campaign. Trump's defense says, okay, so I guess I don't get an answer on that. Like he was asking, can I schedule stuff on Wednesdays? And he's kind of saying, I don't know, maybe not. So again, Trump cannot campaign when he's sitting in here for 6 weeks. He has to be there all day sitting in there. Todd says, Your Honor, well, President Trump wants to attend his Supreme Court oral arguments, the court that's much higher than you that actually is meaningful. Next Thursday morning, he could be back after lunch after those oral arguments. Government hack prosecutor says, Your Honor, Trump doesn't have to be in the Supreme Court. Okay, his lawyers can go there. This is a criminal case. He's required to be here and his attorneys can handle that. Judge says, I've given this some thought. The Supreme Court is incredibly important, says Merchan, but this Manhattan Supreme Court is also important. He's like, I'm pretty much the same as them, as SCOTUS. Trump's lawyer, Todd, says, well, we don't think we should have to even be here today, to be honest. Now, I've accommodated you enough, says the judge. Your client must be here next week and not at the Supreme Supreme Court or on the campaign trail, or else we are adjourned. But the trial is about what we expected. This is what Trump said in the aftermath. He came out and had this to say in response to today's shenanigans. Here is the former president. You can see flanked by Todd Blanche on his left. Here is Trump.
So thank you very much. We had some amazing things happen today. As you know, my son is graduating from high school, and it looks like the judge will not let me go to the graduation of my son, who's worked very, very hard. He's a great student. Very proud of the fact that he did so well, and I was looking forward for years to have graduation with his mother and father there. And it looks like the judges are going to allow me to escape this scam. It's a scam trial.
Yep.
If you
Lock
read
him down.
all of the legal pundits, all of the legal scholars today, there's not one that I see that said this is a case that should be brought or tried. It's a scam. It's a political witch hunt. It continues forever, and we're not going to be given a fair trial. It's a very, very sad thing. In addition, as you know, next Thursday, we're before the United States Supreme Court on a very big hearing on immunity. And this is something that we've been waiting for a long time. And the judge, of course, is not going to allow us. He's a very conflicted judge. And he's not going to allow us to go to that. He won't allow me to leave here for a half a day, go to D.C. and go before the United States Supreme Court because he thinks he's superior, I guess, to the Supreme Court. We got a real problem with this judge. We have a real problem with a lot of things having to do with this trial, including the DA, because you go right outside and people are being mugged and killed all day long, and he's sitting here all day with about 10 or 12 prosecutors over nothing, over what people say shouldn't be a trial. So I just want to thank you very much, but that I can't go to my son's graduation, or that I can't go to the United States Supreme Court, that I'm not in Georgia or Florida or North Carolina campaigning like I should be. It's perfect for the radical left Democrats. That's exactly what they want. This is about election interference. That's all it's about. Thank you very much.
So that's Donald Trump. Day one is in the can, my friends. They're going to be back tomorrow to pick back up with jury selection. And of course, we're going to be here continuing to cover this. So thank you for subscribing and liking this video wherever it is you're watching it.